Thank you, and you are on.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. My name is Dr. Aaron Espold. I'm the Executive Director of School Design and Innovation at SDE. I also understand how busy everyone is managing all the different demands of your time, so I appreciate you choosing to be a part of today's webinar. We have currently over 640 participants on this webinar, and the numbers are still climbing. So I understand that there is a high interest in this, and this is why we decided to join with Edmentum today and provide some more information and hopefully answer some of your questions. A main priority here at SDE is to support the work that is being done at the local level. And one effort to do that is to provide ExactPath. SDE used a portion of the ESSER funds to provide districts at no cost to them an adaptive, personalized learning path, a tool that can be used with all students K through 12. To bring you more information about this opportunity, SDE has partnered with Edmentum today to provide a free demo of ExactPath, provide a Q&A session, and give you the next steps to take advantage of this opportunity. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available on SDE's YouTube page. You can just simply search Oklahoma State Department of Education on that, and you should be able to locate this. If you're having any issues with sound or video, you can always watch it at a later date. Additionally, if you have any questions today during the webinar, please use the chat box feature within Zoom, and we'll address those during our Q&A session. Again, your mic is muted. We have close to 700 participants now. With that many participants, you can imagine the talking over each other. So if you could just post your questions in chat, that'd be the best way for us to answer those. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our speakers today, Kia Devers, Angela Bilyeu, and Madison Mitchell, and I will kick it to y'all. Thank you.
Dr. Espold, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time today. We appreciate you inviting us to speak to Oklahoma educators as we move forward in this partnership. We're extremely excited about it. So we are going to talk a little bit today about ExactPath, what it is, how we can use it within our schools as we're going to benefit and make sure that we are supporting our students no matter what our fall learning looks like. And so we'll talk a little bit today about the introduction to ExactPath. And then we'll look at our system setup resources. How can we help you get set up very seamlessly and let us see as our districts move forward into our programs, how can we help you get connected and making sure that all of our educators as well as our students are ready to go with ExactPath. We'll look at some data-driven decisions. We'll look at the data that we provide that will help you best fit the needs of our students as they are coming to us with the summer slide ×2. We'll be able to identify those discrete skills that maybe our students need help with as they're moving forward. We'll talk a little bit about our learning paths. Our learning paths are really the heartbeat of ExactPath and how we can help our students and meet them where they're at. We know there's going to be a broad spectrum of students as they come back to us in the fall. Whether we're in brick and mortar or if we're still virtual or if we're in a hybrid, right? We're going to have students that have had different experiences through this academic process. And we'll also view ways to monitor student progress. We always want to focus on growth, right? We're meeting our students where they're at, and so we're going to then focus on how we can grow them. Can we get them farther than where we started? And then we'll look again at help and support resources. I do have Kia Devers and I have Madison Mitchell with me today, so they will be monitoring our chat. They'll be helping me answer questions and making sure that I am making this hour a benefit for you and that you're getting what you need. We are available at any time to help answer those questions after this webinar, so we definitely want to partner with you and make sure that we are successful and that we are educator first. We're helping your educators prepare as well as being beneficial for your students. Kia or Madison, would you like to say hello?
Good morning, everybody. This is Madison Michelle. I just threw into the chat, but as Angela said, if you will submit your questions through that mechanism, I will occasionally chime in here to feed some of those to Angela, and we'll do a designated Q&A here at the end.
Thank you so much.
And hello, everyone. To those of you I met last week, glad to have you here again. And I look forward to touching bases with you at the end of Angela's presentation about next steps.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kia. All right, so we're going to move forward. There we are. So just a little bit, and for those of you that are new, I know that I went over this, we had a little bit of a discussion last week, but just for those of you that maybe not quite sure who Edmentum is, we are EdTech pioneers. This is just a little bit of our history. We have currently partnered with BASE. It is a social and emotional learning courseware. That is our newest endeavor as we move forward in making sure that we are meeting the needs of our students. And then we'll come back and we start all the way from 1960 where we have Plato Learning. That's where online learning was invented at the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. We're also, a lot of people will recognize Study Island. Study Island is part of our solution pathway here. It is provided 20 years of standards-based mastery and test preparation program. It has also grown up quite a bit and matured through the years. So you'll see a little bit of a different face on that Study Island if you haven't seen it in a while. But in 2017, we were able to launch ExactPath. It's a way for us to deliver assessments driven by math, reading, and language arts instruction, and able to computer adaptive diagnostic assessment, use that to really pinpoint where our students are and what foundational skills that they might need, that they are lacking in or might have gaps, as well as be able to give our students that are ready to move on, give them some exposure to upper grade levels that they are ready to attend to and see. So just that spectrum of meeting those needs for those students. We recently just received for ExactPath, received the Cody Award. It was recognized as the best tool that can be used to increase attention, responsibility, independence, and engagement in learning. We're very excited about our ExactPath, and we really feel it's the best tool to make sure that our students are getting what they need and that our teachers are being able to meet our students where they're at. We want to make sure, and we all know this as we kind of went through the accountability piece, that our student A, our student B, they're going to start in different areas, right? They're going to start at different points, but we need to get them on their pathway that's specific to them. So we're making sure that they are growing at their rate and what's best for them, and that we're not trying to make a one-size-fits-all for all of our students. So we start with that baseline, and we use that baseline to create those individualized learning paths. So we have different partnerships that we work with. We've got a diagnostic that we use. It's our ExactPath diagnostic. And then we also have an NWA and Renaissance partnership as well. So we're able to work with your sites to create those scores and create those instructional paths from those baseline scores. From that, we're going to have that K through 12 progression. We're going to be able to provide students with competency-based curriculum and automatic remediation at those discrete skill levels. So not only are we using those diagnostics to create learning paths for our student, but that knowledge map we'll view here in a moment, it works from the student's progress. It sees how they are doing with the skills, and it'll either push them forward as they're ready, or it will take them back if they need to build a foundational skill first before they revisit that skill if they were unable to master. So with that, we're targeting those unique learners, and we're planning for our next move with our teacher notifications and digital assignments. We're able to help our teachers really step back, be facilitators, be able to just monitor how our students are doing as they take ownership of their learning, of the pacing of their learning. Teachers are able to view that and watch as their students grow, and then step in when they need to with resources that are readily available for them. And we're going to be able to look at that data to analyze the growth and the progress. So we usage of the growth and the progress as we use those aggregated data views, whether it be district level, class level, or just specific student reports. We're able to provide that to you. Okay, we are going to step out of our PowerPoint here. And I like to talk with my hands, so I'm going to stop my video just so I'm not distracting. So I've logged in here as a teacher. This is where the teacher's dashboard comes in. The teacher is able to see the progress from the time period of how the students are working. They're able to see the different notifications that might be there for our teacher to work with. So for our struggling students, if they've failed something once or if they failed something twice after they've revisited it, where are those students? So it's an ability for me as an educator to wake up a Monday morning, whether it be ready to go in that brick and mortar or whether it be virtually, to be able to say, okay, these are the students that I need to focus on. These are the students that might be struggling, that have failed something, that need me to step in and have that intervention piece. Then we can move through. We've got different math, reading, language arts here. From our classes page, we've got a grouping feature that we'll view here in a moment, as well as a content search. This content search allows educators to assign content to learners above and beyond their learning path, as well as assignments and challenges. We all know that students love to be challenged and they love that motivational piece, so they can win trophies and they can have different challenge pieces that we can work with. So just a different motivation piece for the student to stay engaged. Our engagement pieces are that our students are presented different material with common characters in younger grades and common formats in older grades, but maybe different types of situations. You're going to see 13 different types of media, modes of media that the students will be able to use, technology enhanced items, videos, audio files, things like that, that they're going to not just see one teacher video talking head at them. They're going to be able to experience the content and manipulate it as they work through. They won't be able to log in and walk off. They'll have to work through the system itself. So we'll pull up here. There's our current activities. This allows us to monitor our students' current progress. In my demo account, I have these different classes set up. So we'll look in 6 through 8 just to kind of stay in the middle. And you'll be able to see a list of students. This list of students allows me to see their current learning level, their total skills that they've mastered, and then which learning path they might be on. You'll have multiple learning paths as you have multiple diagnostics. You can give those, depending on what your school chooses, 3 to 4 times a year. These diagnostics will then create that individualized path. That path then will show the students here. In blue, it says these are things that the student is working on. You can see that they're practicing or if they haven't started yet. You'll be able to see if they're struggling. Here, Caden, the student, is struggling with 2-step real-world problems. So that would be something that I'm going to need to take a step and talk to him and see where that misconception is coming from. You'll also see these trophies. These trophies represent progress checks. Progress checks are what allow us to show that the student has mastered that standard and was able to retain that mastery level over a period of time and apply it to a new situation. A progress check is 20 questions with 4 skills. So each skill has 5 questions. The mastery of that skill is 4 out of 5. So you can see here, this student, Ariba, she was able to master all 4 of those skills. She has that green here. If a student is unable to master, like we have Powell here, he would go back and have these building block activities that he would need to then work through before going back into these skills he was unable to master. And so we can look a little bit more in depth as we look through the learning path. But this would be a quick way for you to say, okay, I'm going to need to meet with Kazim today. I'm going to need to meet with Ariba, and I'm going to need to meet with Caden today because these kids are working through these and they're struggling. I haven't done anything. I haven't assigned them anything. I haven't had to grade anything. I'm just being able to really monitor this and then facilitate that intervention when needed. So here is our knowledge map. Our knowledge map is really the heartbeat of ExactPath. I equate it to a digital data wall. This allows me to see my students here and allows me to see where they're at skill-wise. These skills are discrete skills. We've taken the Oklahoma academic standards and we've broken it down into a more granular level because we all know that academic standards bundle skills. And so we want to make sure that we're really getting to that nitty-gritty for our students, to be able to make sure that they are focusing on those foundational skills and being able to use those to apply to new skills. So here the light green shows us that these students were able to master these skills on that K through 12 progression. So these students are in 6th through 8th grade. They're showing mastery of these skills through their assessment piece. You'll see here these 4 skills. This is that dark blue. So Mr. Kerr here was assigned 4 skills to start working with. These 4 skills are a manageable chunk. We don't want the students to see more than 4 skills at a time. For our older kids, for our littles, they're going to see 1 to 2 skills at a time. We don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want them to stop before they even get started, right? We want them to see that, hey, I can do this. This is a manageable piece. And so we're able to present these to the students. They're able to work through these skills. Here you'll see that through that progress check that we talked a little bit about earlier, Pal here was able to work with these and get trophies. They were able to show mastery. So I can click on any of these darker squares, and it will list out that learner experience that that student had. It will show me that learning path, the lesson, the practice, the mastery quiz that was completed within that skill. It will also click down here and show me the Oklahoma Academic Standard that that skill is connected to. This is great when we're looking at reporting work or time spent for IEPs, 504s, for our RTIs. It's a way for us to make sure that we are addressing those Oklahoma academic standards with these skills. Then you'll also see, once a student's taken that progress check, a section for progress check. So you can see here, the student was able to master 4 out of 5. I'm able to see that, which is great. I'm able to review that skill to see what that looks like. We're going to close out of here. And then we'll look here. We've got a student here. We've got Mr. Chasm. He was unable to do well for symbolizing addition and subtraction. So he was, through his progress check, I'm going to open that up. Again, I see his learning path. I can see that standards coverage. And then I can see that progress check. So I look back at that learning path and I say, okay, he did 100% on the practice, 100% on the quiz. You know, let's go look at that progress check. We're able to review that. So I'm able to look through here and I can have that conversation, whether it's face-to-face or whether it's a virtual environment. I'm able to look through and have those conversations with him and understand where that misconception was coming and why he's getting this wrong. Maybe because he rushed through, because he didn't think anybody would know. Well, we know, we've had a conversation about it. We need to go back and revisit that. Maybe it's because there's a process or a content or a context error. I can identify that with my intentional conversation, and then I can come back and I can get an intentional intervention piece with that student. If I have something that I know works great, I can utilize that. But maybe I just need something right now on the fly. You can hit resources within this drawer. It will then provide you with suggested resources that are specifically aligned to that skill. So whether it be videos, that can be ours from Edmentum or other videos that we found that really support that skill. We can also look at worksheets that we can provide, as well as lesson ideas. Maybe I've got more than just Chasm that's needing some help with this skill. So I can pull this up. It's going to be your traditional type of lesson plan. This is great for teachers, and maybe your art or your elective teachers are coming in and helping support with those intervention times. This shows them step by step how to target different learning modalities. It tells them warm-up, materials needed, procedures, independent closing, as well as options for advanced learners, struggling learners. Give me some extension activities that I can work with my advanced learners maybe, or that maybe my struggling learners can work with to continue practicing, as well as EL teaching tips. So we're able to provide these resources for the teachers right then when they can have that intervention time with the student, and be able to support your schools and support your teachers. So whether it be a resource from here or one that they've used for years that yield great mastery, it is just available for you as they move forward. I also know that we say this a lot, that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome will drive you mad. So our exact path system will provide a remediation lesson or a foundational lesson is what I like to call it, to build this before they present that symbolize an addition, subtraction to that student again. So because we have this building block, you can see here, as I move over, it has assigned chasm, an addition and subtraction properties in a lower grade level. So now he must visit this and he must work with that first before he is then assigned an available alternate learning path for this symbolizing addition and subtraction. Remember, we want to build those skills. We want to provide that foundation. We want to work and support the teacher as they work through those intervention pieces, right? And so we're providing that for you before they go back and try to reattack that skill. Here, the X's mean that student's failed twice. This point is when we come to our students where we're using those resources, because the learning path resources that we've provided, or that foundational skill, they're not quite getting it. So now we need to kind of go back into that bank, into those resources. You know, how can we use these to work with the student to help them go back and get those first round lesson scores up, or get those progress checks up? It just provides you that background, that history for the students. So we're able to do that all in this one system. And we can move this up and we can show you how our different skills are aligned. We can see that they are separated into domains. If at any time you want to see kind of a vertical progression, you can always filter that out through a domain, and you can see how your skills will mature and go through that vertical progression. All right. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but as I was going through the lesson plans here, or the knowledge map, and I'm going to end filter this so we can see all the domains. And this is presented in language arts as well as reading. So you'll see the same knowledge map, and all the resources and things like that will be provided to you as well in all three of those different content levels. These are our basic academic skills that will help us as our students are successful with these skills. They're able to then take that and apply it to our science content areas, our social studies content areas, and our elective areas. Sorry, and I got a little distracted. I apologize for that. But here you'll see this gray. We talked a little bit and I said, hey, you know, maybe we can see here and we can see this gray piece. What does that mean, Angela? Well, that means that I've taken the learner and they walked into my classroom, they enrolled today, or they virtually enrolled and they're ready to go. I need to get them started. So what I can do is I can assign them a grade level path. Zach is in 6th grade. We're going to assign him a grade level path, which means, and I don't want to make anybody sick as I scroll through, but it means he's going to start with those first 4 skills of 6th grade. And these first 4 skills of 6th grade, he will then work through. He'll get that learning path resource, he'll go through the lesson, he'll go through the mastery quiz, and he'll work through those. If he does well, the path, the learning path will adjust for him and it will push him forward into higher skills. If he does not do well and shows some deficits there, the path will adjust and start to assign him foundational skills to help him build that. So that will allow us to get our kids started without a diagnostic. They will be able to get in there, get started, and kind of start showing their work and their progress and how they're working towards growth within and where they're at. So we're excited to offer that option as well for you guys. So here, that's our learning path. Our, again, K through 12 progression. You're going to be able to see as the skills are, you can always click on the darker. You'll see that standard coverage, how it relates, how it's connected. You'll see available resources that are ready to use for you right then. And you'll be able to see how the students are doing on their progress checks, what that progress check looked like for that student, and the learning path. Students are able to work through these at any time. They can stop and start if they need to by chunking, if that's a need for the student. When they do that, they're able to come back and start where they left off. Their work will not be lost. They will not have to start over at the beginning. So that's our learning path. That's individualized. It's created for the student, whether it be from a diagnostic or whether it be a grade level path that we assign. It is there for them to start working day one and to really meet their individual needs. But as a teacher, I've got some things that I want to assign or that we're working on. So we can look through this content search. The content search allows us to either search by Oklahoma academic standard or by skill level, depending on where your focus is that day or depending on what it is that you're wanting to teach. So we'll look at reading here. Let's look at second grade. We'll look at language and vocabulary, and then we'll hit go. So then you'll see within this, you can also go here to the skill level. I've just gone at the domain, but you'll see a listing of everything that is provided within this platform for the student to work with. Like the first was context clues. This skill is connection between words. You'll be able to see these resources. You can preview them from here. You can assign them from here. It allows you to assign things above and beyond that student's learning path. As I move up a little bit, you might say, Angela, that's great for my lower levels, but what about my higher levels? Well, before we get there, I want to show you just a little bit of an age-appropriate grade content style. So say I've got a second grader who needs context clues. That's great. Let me share my sound. I'm going to pull up this lesson for you so you can see what this lesson does for context clues. Now remember, this is a K through 5th grade content style. So as we see here, you're going to see characters that the students can get to know.
Granny is reading a book to Sten and Steg.
Are you boys ready to learn about jobs people do?
Yeah!
Okay. Would you like me to read about police officers?
Well, we just learned about them at school. Can we learn about detectives?
So these characters are presented throughout the lessons for our younger students. There are a group of characters, it's not just these same two, and to prevent fatigue going through the work, it's different atmospheres that they're in. One is at a farmer's market, one is at a school, a library, at grandma's house. So they're going to be able to be familiar with the characters, but see different opportunities for them to learn with different contexts, different skills and domains that they're going to work through. We're also going to be able to provide translation support. We have 19 different languages that can be translated into. It's a text-by-text, side-by-side comparison for our students. They have that support as they're immersed into that English language. You've also always has the opportunity to have words read aloud to them. They can pace that and work through. With our younger grades, that's going to be read to them. They're going to be able to see that. So that's going to be available anyways, but it is just a handy dandy tool to have for our text to speech and our translations for those students to get that even playing field as they move forward with their growth and their learning. But maybe, I'm going to click out of here. Maybe I've got a student that is an 8th grader or older that needs that context clue second grade, but there is no way that they're going to be excited about looking at a cartoon or an edutainment type of approach, right? But they still need to learn those resources. This is where that 6th through 12th grade content style comes in. We want to make sure that our students are focused and they are engaged and they want to learn and want to grow. From our research, we've shown that they want to see people that they can relate to, right? We know that that keeps them engaged. We want them to be using it, manipulating the system, working through. So as we look through our context clues here in our tutorial, they'll see what's presented to them. They'll know what their expectations are. They'll be able to see pictures they can relate to a little bit better. Here we've got an editor at a magazine. It's a real world example that they can be interested in. I'm in as a student, or excuse me, I'm in as a teacher, so I have superpowers. I can go wherever, but a student would have to work through these sequentially. This would not highlight or let them click until they've worked through this slide. They're able to see different pieces of text, but it's not going to be scrolling. They're not going to be able to log in, start the lesson, and walk off. They are going to have to go through, manipulate this, work through, see manageable pieces of text. We can see the slide narration. If they are at that 8th grade level needing help with context clues, there's probably going to be some reading deficits there as well. And so that they need that read to them, they can have it read, the full slide. They can do the click to speech. The click to speech allows the readers to not only have it read to them what they choose, but also
here is the passage I told you about.
Let them see those words highlighted as they're read aloud to them. And you'll also have your translation tool. For our older students, our EL students, that might have background and be able to read in their home language, they can see the support here as their side-by-side text comparison. They're able to have that support if there's something that they don't understand in this reading as it's read aloud to them or as they're reading it. Here, we talked about manageable pieces of text. We're able to manipulate the system, work through step by step, be able to show different pieces in manageable small chunks, not having to scroll down, down, down before they get through. You're also going to see visuals that they can work with using these context clues. The lessons themselves, the number of slides that are presented, we usually work through, that takes about that many minutes on average to complete the lessons. As they work through these, depending on the prior knowledge that they have or the reading abilities that they have, that's going to be where the differences, the variation is in the lessons that they complete. We also have the highlighter tools and as well as some other resources that can be provided. Anything that the student does, they can step out of this, they can save and exit. It will be there provided for them when they come back in. So we don't want them to have to start over. All right, so that would be our content search. That's going to show you the different ways to present for the K through 5th age appropriate. And maybe let's go and we can look and pull up a higher grade level. So we'll pull 11th grade. Let's pull reading literature. And we'll pull, let's do settings. And we'll hit go. Here you'll see the different provisions or the resources that we provided. Your skill statements, your standards that they can relate to or attach to, and then you'll be able to pull up a lesson. Now, obviously, if you've got a K through 5th grader doing 11th grade content, it's not necessarily going to vary too much in their presentation. So here you can see there's 28 slides, so we'd say about 28 minutes is average to get through this tutorial, depending on the student themselves. So as we're working through here, you're going to see elements of Gothic style, different pictures to relate. Here's a video that steps them through Gothic literature and the tradition and the start of it. From here, we can also see that any text that is related to Exact Path is included within the system. Students are not going to have to subscribe to anything. You're not going to have to buy additional text at all. Everything that they need to work through these Exact Path lessons is provided in the system for them. There's also a guided notes piece for our students. This allows them to keep track and really keep moving forward and making sure that they're getting the pieces that are important throughout their lessons. They're able to fill it out electronically, or they can print it off and they can do paper pencil. So this allows them to see the specific pieces of information that they need to make sure that they are capturing. A lot of the time we'll get through and students are like, I didn't do so well, I'm not sure why. As a teacher, we can step in our intervention time, right? And we can have that conversation and say, hey, let me see your guided notes. Let me see how you did with those. And they're like, guided notes? I don't know where those are. Well, let's go back and let's view that. This helps us with our students also that just like to click, 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 and get through. We want to make sure that they're getting the pieces that they have and that they are, again, getting what's important throughout the lesson so they can provide that. And as we work through, you'll see there's different opportunities in the tutorial for them to have constructed-based responses. Once they submit this, they'll see a sample answer. Remember, this is the tutorial piece, so we want them working and we want them to see sample answers so they can match, am I understanding? Am I getting what the lesson is presenting to me? Am I able to work through that? As well as a self-evaluation piece. So you can be able to see, the student is taking ownership of that learning. They're able to say, am I at a 1 to 5, where am I at? Really take that reflective piece that we want them to as they formatively assess through the lessons. And you'll see just some different modes of modality, or excuse me, modes of media that we present through as they work through. And you can see here, not only are the resources presented here, but they're also just as a link. So we can click this and that would come up for the students. So they would be able to have that. So that would be our skills level, different lesson types as we view through that. There are also an opportunity, or opportunities, I should say, for us to use grouping features. So I equate this also to when I was a teacher, I would work with my test data. I would work with my observations in my class, and then I would work with any kind of other data that I might have, interim assessments, state assessments, things like that, and I would group my students according to their needs. That would take me a while, right? But I knew that it was best and it was beneficial for my students, so I would use that prep work. Here, what we try to do is we try to eliminate some of that prep work for your educators. And so as we move through here, once they take that diagnostic, or once we place them on that learning path, we know that once they start working and making progression through that, that original data is going to change. We want real-time data. So as we're looking and pulling through this, I want to pull from my knowledge map. I want to see how my students are doing specifically to that skill status on that knowledge map. Then I can come here and hit auto group students. It will group my students according to how they're doing. I'm able to view, these are my 4 kids that assessed above already for 2-step real world problems. These are my 2 kids, they're struggling right now. These are not even ready to get to 2-step real world problems. Their learning path, they're not even there. They need to do it. They haven't assessed above, but they're not ready yet. And this is Zach. I placed him on that grade level, right? So it's given me different groups to work with. But maybe I'm in a virtual setting and I've got 45-minute lesson, or I've got 45-minute time with my students. I want to separate that time, 45 minutes. I'm going to separate it into 15 chunks. I want everybody to be working on that 45 minutes, but me actually working with them and communicating with them, we're going to look at 15-minute chunks, just like we would in a brick and mortar station type of rotation. So I can take Zach, I've got the flexibility, I can push him over into this group. So now I have my 3 15-minute groups. For these guys, I might come in and I might assign them an enrichment activity, or I might say, you guys just keep working on your learning path today. We're going to come back and visit to see your progress. These guys, they're struggling a little bit. I'm going to come in, I'm going to create an assignment. I want them to work on a video. I want them to watch a video. So we'll look at 2-step real world problems. Here's the content that's provided to me. And then I can come in and I can assign that to them. This is going to be above and beyond their learning path. So this is a resource for me as I'm teaching. So I'm assigning that to these students. So what they'll do is they will now, I will say, watch the assigned video. So I can do that in my notes. Then they're going to start with their video. They're going to continue on their learning path. And then this guy, I'm going to work with them on something, a foundational skill, right? So I can hit create assignment. I can come through. Maybe I'm going to go down to a 2nd grade level, and we're just going to look at real world problems. We're going to open that resource content, and we're going to pull, hey, let's do word problems. Pull that, we'll hit next, and then assign it. So this will be above and beyond. We can work that resource together. We can review or preview a video together. Then we can have a discussion piece where we can talk about it. Again, I'm identifying, process, content, context error. Where are my students' misconceptions occurring? And then I'm able to have resources readily available that I can work with them through. Once I've got these guys started, they can work on that path. They can either work on their learning path again, work on some foundational skills, or they can work on something that I've assigned here. I can come visit with these guys. We can talk about the video. We can have that communication piece, that dialogue, the support between the peers and the teacher as we move forward to making sure that they're no longer struggling and they can move forward. And then I check in with these babies and I say, hey, how are you guys doing? What's your progress? I see, that you're doing great here, you're doing great here. What can I help you with? So it's just an easy way to kind of eliminate some of that prep work for your teachers. So they're wholeheartedly, when they come to their students, they're fresh, they're ready to go. So that would be a way to do the grouping tool. It is available in all contents, and it is also, it can change. Like if say next time we're going to look at measurement and data skills, maybe we're going to do that the next time we meet. I can come through here and I can pull out how my students are doing, and then I can auto group them again. It will automatically group them. I can see that the majority of my students are past it. And then we've got Zach here and Chasm and Paula, but they're not ready yet. We can work with them, and I can spiral this skill maybe through warm-ups or things like that. I'm not going to necessarily have to take all the time to really focus on that skill or standard. And I think this is a great important fact or piece, because we know this coming year, we're going to have the same set of grade level standards, but we're also going to have additional any kind of standard or skills that they missed in the preceding grade level, right? That from that missing that 9 weeks, that last 9 weeks of instruction. And so we're really going to need to focus on and use our time effective and efficiently so we're able to meet the needs of our students. And this is here, when I click here as I move forward, this is just a different way to assign and create a new assignment. So if you're just having a grade level assignment, or you just want to maybe challenge some students that are ready to go, you can hit create a new assignment and assign them something that you think that they're ready to experience and have exposure to. Challenges that we see are time. Can you spend 30 minutes in your math learning path this week? That is our research shows that that's the beneficial spot. That 30 minutes starts to show a benefit for our students and starts to show that growth. And so maybe our challenge is, can you do 30 minutes in math? Can you do 30 minutes in reading? Once you do that, you're going to get this sticker. Or maybe your challenge for your GT students are, can you get through 4 skills in the next 2 weeks? Just giving those different motivation, different times, different pieces of challenges, assignments for those different students, so that way they can work through that. Exact Path is really a way for you to have, it's more, I like to look at it as kind of a backbone or central nervous system, where it is working constantly, it is constantly reassessing your students, it is working on their progress, how they're working through their skills in the background, and connecting to your core instruction, supporting your core instruction, making sure that as you are presenting 3rd grade level, 9th grade level material, that they are getting those foundational skills parallel as they move through the courses and as they move through the subject matter. And I'm sure you guys are very familiar, that you can assume that I am a teacher, I am an educator, been in education for 20 years because I have talked for 45 minutes straight. So I do appreciate your time, and I do want to make sure that we're getting everything, every piece of information to you. So with this, I'm going to kind of close out the demonstration piece and pass it over to Kia, so we can look at working with how do you get involved, or how do you get connected with the access for the server. Okay, so I'm going to pull up our slideshow, and I will pull up our form that we work with. And so let me pull here. There she is. Here she comes.
Yes, I was just waiting for you. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela, so much for that in-depth look at Exact Path. And we definitely hope that everyone is excited about this opportunity. Exact Path is about making learning personable and personal. So we want to make sure that you are prepared to take advantage of this opportunity. We all know that we're experiencing some unprecedented times in education right now, and we're not sure what changes will come in the fall and as the school year rolls out as a whole. And then Angela talked about that a little bit. So we want to be able to get all schools in Oklahoma started with taking advantage of this valuable opportunity being provided free of charge by the State Department of Education. So for districts who have not yet opted in, you'll go to this link that's been provided to you to sign up. And it's as simple as that. If you take a look, the link is at the bottom of the screen. I'll ask Madison, if she hasn't already, to place that in the chat box. By completing this form, you're letting the state and Edmentum know that you would like your district to take advantage of ExactPath in your schools. Simple as that. That's step one. For districts who have opted in already or will opt in today and moving forward, once you opt in, you receive an email from our Edmentum team. So going forward, those of you who have opted in and those who will opt in today, you'll receive that email from our team that will give you a link to the Getting Started page. And that's where the magic happens. Next step is you getting started. Getting Started website will walk you through setting up your account with your teachers and students. And we've been intentional in developing a one-stop shop that will help you and your instructional teams get up and running. The site also provides step-by-step what needs to happen. And so that just really makes it very easy for you. The third step that follows that will include additional professional learning to help prepare instructional leaders and teachers with this implementation. We want to make it as easy, as simple for you as possible. And so we divided it into those three steps. One, we have the form, complete that. Two, in the next few days, for those of you who've already opted in and for those of you who will opt in today, you'll get an outreach email from our Edmentum team that links you to the Getting Started website. And then three, follow up in the next coming weeks will be information around additional professional learning to help prepare your teachers for implementing ExactPath in your schools. Now, we have I'm going to open it up because I want to make sure that Madison has an opportunity to throw any questions out that have come up. And we've received a ton of questions, and these are all very valuable questions and valid questions. And so we want to make sure that we respond to what you're needing to know. So as a follow-up step to this webinar, we will be compiling those questions that don't get answered today, and probably some of those that get answered today as well, in an FAQ, and sharing that out so that we can make sure that we answer those questions that you have. We don't want a lack of understanding or a lack of knowledge to prevent you from taking advantage of this awesome opportunity. So you can continue to put those questions in as I turn over to Madison. And just know that we will get those answers over to you in the next coming days. So Madison, are there any that you would like to specifically shoot out this way?
Absolutely. Let's jump in and get started. Like you said, Kia, I've been doing my best to answer some of the quick ones I can in chat, but I know that we we're just scratching the surface on getting those questions answered. Let me bring through some of the top themes that we're hearing. There's a number of questions about devices and what devices ExactPath can be used on. You want to address that one real quick, Angela?
Yeah, absolutely. ExactPath is internet-based. It is mobile optimized, so it can be used on Chromebooks, it can be used on iPhones, it can be used on iPads, any type of smart device that you have.
Excellent. We also received a few questions about Study Island as it compares to ExactPath and what maybe are the key differences between Study Island and ExactPath.
That's a great question. So the way I look at Study Island and ExactPath they complement each other. Where Study Island is going to provide us with standards mastery practice, exposure to technology enhanced items, on grade level standards, that formative assessment piece of proficiency. ExactPath is more focused on an adaptive ability to meet the student where they're at rather than is my student at proficiency for their grade level. ExactPath says, hey, where are you at? I need to identify that, and then how can I help you grow? ExactPath is going to provide that instruction piece and take it really down and allow the students to see the lesson and to really experience the lesson, where your study island lessons that you'll find are more of a, it assumes that the teacher has already instructed that, and it's more of a refresher, or just of, hey, I'm working on these skills and I can't quite remember what Ms. Smith said today, so I can go back to that lesson and kind of review that and say, oh yeah, that's right. So where Study Island is proficiency, standards aligned, working through just having that exposure. ExactPath is discrete skill level, standard aligned. We just kind of break it down into those skill levels, and it takes them and meets them where they're at and starts to help them do the growth piece.
That's great. And we also have a number of other resources and even some success stories from customers that have used the two together, so we can make sure that we include some of that for those that are still looking for more information.
Thanks, Madison. Yeah.
Awesome. We have a number of different questions. I think people were excited to hear about the integration with NWA, integration with STAR. Can you just maybe touch on that one more time and talk about, do we need to use multiple assessments? Right? How does the assessment piece work if you're using one of those partners?
Okay, so as you work with us, we are going to talk to you about the most efficient and effective way to get those individualized learning paths for your students. So Edmentum will meet with you and your district team and decide if you're utilizing NWEA MAP, let's use those tests or those diagnostics to create those individualized paths. If you're using multiple, what's going to be our best method to view that? Do we want to do grade level placements? Do we want to work with the ExactPath diagnostic? What's going to be most beneficial for your kids? I know a big worry is over-assessing. Coming from the state assessment office in Oklahoma, I know that is a concern for a lot of our districts. And so we don't want to necessarily just test to test, right? We want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students and that we're creating those individualized learning paths for them. And so we don't want to over-assess. So really my roundabout answer to that question is working with an Edmentum team, your district and us, we will work with you to make sure that we put the best possible plan forward.
Thank you, Angela. And just to add one thing to that, that doesn't preclude you from working within ExactPath before that decision is made. So for individuals who are concerned about over-assessment or are not sure if they want to utilize NWEA, et cetera, the learning paths will still be developed based on the work that the students are doing. So that's not something that you have to have in place, put in place. It is something that you can decide upon later and have your students get started when you get them enrolled into the system or uploaded into the system. Those learning paths are there no matter what, based on their work.
Great, thanks, Kia. Yeah.
Great. Related to assessments, and this question is about the ExactPath diagnostic. How long does it take?
So for our littles, it's about 20 minutes average, 25 minute average. That would be our K through second, third. And then, really depending, because it's computer adaptive, right? So it's going to pinpoint where they're at. For our older students, it's about 40 to 45 minute average. It is available to do the piece if needed. They can take it in multiple sessions. But again, remember, it is computer adaptive, so it's going to adjust to how the student is answering the question. So I would say average K through third is about 20-25 minutes, and then for our older students, about 40-45 minutes.
Perfect. We also have some questions around our single sign-on integrations. Angela, if you want to address what we have now, and then of course the two that will be introduced later this summer.
Great, and so we do partner with Clever and ClassLink. We can single sign-on, not a problem. We can work with that and partner with you and make sure that we get our IT people hooked up with your IT people and get that done. We are also working with Google to make sure that in the fall that we are integrating with them. Madison, remind me who the other one is? Microsoft, thank you very much. So we're working with those two to make sure that in the fall we'll be able to implement that as well.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, when you sign up and you do receive your access to the Getting Started page, there is a link there that will guide you through that part if you are integrating with Clever.
Perfect. We have a few folks asking about K-1 standards, and is K-1 tied to Common Core or Oklahoma standards?
Your K-1 is going to be tied to your Oklahoma academic standards. We are a K through 12 progression, so all of our skills will get in that K through 12 range, and then with each of those skills, we tie it back to that Oklahoma academic standard. And you can see that whether you content search by standard or whether you open that drawer up when we saw on the knowledge map, you can see that standard alignment there.
Wonderful.
Madison, let me interrupt just for a second. Erin, I just wanted to see if, given the time, if we're okay with going forward, or would you like us to wrap it up and just talk about how we'll do some outreach from this point? I want to be cognizant.
To respect everyone's time, if we could just kind of wrap this up currently, and then what we'll do is find a way to answer any future questions that they may have. I am, again, putting my email in the chat box. If anyone has any questions that were not directly answered or have any issues with signing up, I've seen some of these coming through, just feel free to email me, and I will, again, put my email in the chat box, and I will ensure that I forward those questions onto Edmentum so that we can get those answered for you. Again, SD wants to support every district and in your decisions and provide that support in any way we can. So we'll make sure that we get you the answers. We'll make sure that we get you signed up and provide that link to those answers the best that we can.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for this time today. We know that it's definitely at the hour. We want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we also know that there's a lot of positive energy and questions out there that we want to make sure that we get to. So just as a reminder, interest, opt in. Go to that form. Madison has placed the link there for you to go to the form and sign up. That's your opt-in. That gets you started. And then from there, let me clarify the steps just a little bit before we sign off. You will receive an email from us. There's two parts to that, because we do have to have the district signed off, and then we will send the welcome letter out to you, which gets you into the Getting Started page. In conjunction with SDE, we will make sure that these questions that have been placed in the chat are responded to and get those over to you guys so that you have those answers. We might have to schedule some follow-up webinars that we host on our side, but we'll work very closely with the State Department to make sure you get the answers you need and that we all are on the same page and we can get started immediately.
I would just like to thank everyone for joining in today's webinar. Again, just a quick reminder, thank you to Edmentum and the presenters today. I think y'all did an outstanding job of answering as many questions as we could during that hour. A reminder, I have put my email address, aaron.espolt@sde.ok.gov, into the chat box. Feel free to email me directly, and I will try to assist you in any way and support you in any way possible. Additionally, this will be posted to SDE's YouTube page. So give us a little time to get that turned around, and we will get that posted there as quickly as possible for if anyone missed this today, that or if you have any other teachers or others that would be useful for them to view this, feel free to direct them there. we'll continue supporting you and giving you as many answers as we possibly can. As we know, the work that you're doing, the decisions that you're trying to make currently are just huge in scope. And so we want to provide that, ease that in any way we can. So thank you for today. That will conclude our webinar. Thank you to Edmentum for your time, and thank you to all of our attendees for your time as well. Please email me if you have any further questions. Thank you.